Good evening now. It's 6:05. This is a meeting of the Utilities Committee. I am the chairman. My name is John Terwilliger. To my left is Mr. William Twiss, and to my right is Mr. William Lutz. We will be discussing this evening an issue between Frontier, the City of Troy, and the relocation of telephone lines. Mr. Titterington.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So on West Water Street, north of the street, behind the properties on the north side, from the law firm of Shipman Dixon, west to Adams Street, and actually to Jackson, the small street just beyond Adams Street. There are telephone poles and lines, significant number of lines, that are on the property lines between the properties and Miami Conservancy District. With the redevelopments that are going on along West Main Street, two in particular, one next to the law office and one that is soon to occur, 3 properties east of Adams Street. There is the opportunity to remove those, not only the lines but the poles off of the levee property. It's on the property line, but it is into the levee, and get those moved, the lines relocated to existing poles on the south side of Water Street. So no new poles, just move the lines over and get rid of the poles along the backside of the levee. What we are asking is for so the current estimate, which will only go down from Frontier, is approximately $65,000 to move all of those lines over. The 2 developers are in agreement to pay $11,500 apiece for their contribution towards the project, which is about a third of the project, when in fact I believe there are 8, I meant to count these before the meeting, but at least 8 properties in that area that I mentioned, maybe even as many as 9 or 10. And so they're willing to pay a third of the project, and then the city would pay for the remaining portion to get those lines relocated. Because it is a little different than what we normally do, the city's maximum cost would be $45,000, which is under the $50,000 threshold. However, because the total project is over the $50,000, Mr. Kerber, the law director, encouraged us to come to you, recommended that we bring this to the council, as well as the fact that since we would be spending public money, tax dollars, to declare a public purpose. And actually, in talking with Mr. Kerber, there are two public purposes, among probably more, but 2 primary ones. Number 1 is the economic development aspect of it, and as important is, if not more so, is the ability to take those lines off of the levee system and the flood protection system that we have in place along the Great Miami River. In your packet, you do have a memo from the Miami Conservancy District that is in full support of doing this anytime. They always encourage that encroachments into the levee be removed where possible. It's not there. I've been asked the question, so I'll just answer in anticipation. It's not a cost that would be borne by the Miami Conservancy District. Rather, they entertain these as permitted uses on a case-by-case basis with a permit application, or when a utility in particular feels the need to put them there. They don't like to do it, but they will cooperate and work with them. So anytime there's the opportunity to have them removed, they are in full support, but their budget and their mandate and their the ORC does not require, nor do they have the resources to be able to do those kinds of things. The 2019 budget, we did include funds to support this relocation. We talked about it in November with the idea that we would possibly be coming to you tonight to discuss it. We are not requesting emergency legislation.
Questions?
Is there other utility poles east of that location, or no?
I don't believe there are. I don't. When you get east of this area, the utilities, the telephone utility is actually underground.
Okay. So there'd be congruency that there would be nothing on that. There
Correct.
wouldn't be any on that levee.
That's
down.
correct.
Okay.
So future development east, this isn't an issue that would arise because they are underground.
That's correct. That's my understanding of it.
And that would that
And
cross
as you
Market
go-
Street?
Yes.
Yeah.
So as you go east and you cross Market Street, it's a fairly large trunk system that they've got in place. Those lines actually feed a lot of the east side of Troy, so they're fairly significant.
Does the contract for the $45,000 also include the cost of removing the poles?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have an idea of how many lines are served from this? I mean, obviously, the benefit's going to be for all those phone users as well. We talking a couple hundred, 1,000 lines?
When you say lines, do you mean actual
Like customers.
telephones?
Yeah,
No,
telephone
I
landline
would say it's
customers.
easily thousands
Okay.
especially when you go east.
Okay.
There should not be any disruption in service. Somehow they know how to do it where they're minimizing the disruption anyway. So they will continue to have.
And the poles on the
minimum
south
service.
have the capability to add these lines in.
Yes.
And the south is the courthouse side.
They would, right, that's correct.
Yeah.
Courthouse, Hayner, et cetera, yes. That's why it was important that we didn't want any additional poles to go in, and so they were able to accommodate them on the existing poles.
So this was originally budgeted 75,000. We're at 45. There's two firms that are given 11.5 each, and the Conservancy has offered a waiver, for lack of a
No,
better
that's
term,
not-
on
no.
permits.
No, I don't want to put that on the record. Every community would
Okay.
expect a waiver. It is not a waiver. One of the initial options would have been to, if the whole line wouldn't have been moved, the portions of the line that would be moved would have required relocation of poles, not removal of poles. And so by doing that, the permitting and the permit costs would have been a multi-year permit that would have been, that was anticipated to be a higher amount than a one-time removal permit will be. And so the difference can be credited towards the project.
Okay.
So it's not a waiver, it's just a credit
Credit.
of payments that have been made.
Got it. Any questions from persons in attendance?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
what was the original thought process on burying the east side and having the west side up on poles?
As far as we know, it's been buried on the east side, I won't say forever, but for a long, long time. We did look at burying the lines going west. However, to do that would have been much, much higher cost, perhaps exorbitantly so, as well as would have created many complications given that we'd had to dig up portions of West Water Street. We have many other utilities that we're not sure where they're at in the road and next to the road in the right-of-way. And so that's why we asked them to look at another option that ended up being the one that we prefer.
Thank you. Seems pretty straightforward. Economic development's huge when people decide to put money into our city, and it makes sense to meet them at that. Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome. Anyone else? How would you like to move on this recommendation?
Move forward.
I concur.
Then it's unanimous that this recommendation be moved and passed to council. And anything else before us?
No, sir.
Or adjourn?